Israel and Hamas will hold their fire for another 2 days, according to a spokesperson from the Qatari government, which has been mediating the negotiations. Now, over the first 3 days of this truce, Hamas has released 58 Israeli hostages, including a 4-year-old American-Israeli girl, a few hours back. And Israel has freed 117 Palestinian prisoners. Another exchange is expected in the next day or so. The truce has put a pause on the constant violence that we've seen since the Hamas attack on Israel early last month and allowed much needed aid to make it into Gaza. But Israel is making it clear the conflict is far from over.
This is a pause, it's not a ceasefire. Israel cannot and will not allow itself to stop pushing against Hamas to remove that threat following October 7th, because we cannot allow ourselves to have Hamas continue to rule Gaza, rearm, regroup, and strike again.
So what comes next here? Well, to discuss it, I'm joined by Dr. Nadeem Rouhana, professor of international negotiation and conflict studies at Tufts Fletcher School of Global Affairs. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be with you.
So what do you make of this latest ceasefire and the release of hostages on either side? Is this a good sign that perhaps some sort of peace can come at least down the road?
This is a very good sign, and this is a very good development. As you know, the parties agreed on 2 more days of truce in which Hamas will release hostages, women and children, and Israel would release also prisoners. Many of them are held without trial, also women and children. That should be emphasized. Actually, Israel holds hundreds of children, of Palestinian children and women. So it's that kind of exchange between the 2 parties. The question in my mind is how that is going to be continued. And as we heard from the ambassador, the Israeli ambassador, Israel is determined, at least in public statements, to continue the war. And what the world is seeing now is that the war did have a devastating effect on 2.3 million Gazans, and it's very hard to continue the war in the southern part of Gaza, which will have all the Gazans, because the people on the north were ethnically pushed, were displaced into the south. So the question is really whether the war would really continue or not. That is the big question. And in my mind, the decision, or a big part of the decision, rests on the American administration, President Biden in particular. So far, he has been supporting Israel unconditionally, and the question is whether he would support the continuation of the war.
Do you think that if the war continues in the same earnestness that it has, do you think that other countries will then begin to enter the conflict? We are seeing these horrific images, many of them little children, especially if you're on social media. One doctor, a Palestinian doctor that lives in London, held a press conference recently, said upwards of something like 700 to 900 children are amputees now. Do you think that the international community is going to start to enter this conflict in earnest?
The international community depends what we mean. If we mean people like you and me, if we mean the young generation of people all over the world, South and North, Europe, the US, people want a ceasefire because they see the human price of the Israeli action in Gaza. I want to tell you something. There was an Israeli general used last week the term of Holocaust, humanitarian Holocaust, he said, to describe what's happening in Gaza. And he used actually the Hebrew word for the term. So I don't think he was exaggerating in terms of the human price in Gaza. So if you mean by the international community the decision makers and the policy makers, there is movement also. I mean, the world by majority voted for ceasefire in the UN. The South voted for ceasefire. Many European countries voted for ceasefire. Many countries are calling now, Belgium and Spain called for ceasefire openly. But Israel listens to this country. Israel listens to this administration, and for obvious reasons, because this country supports the diplomatic cover, the military support, the financial support, and so on. And I think this is why I think the keys are in the White House. Now, in terms of expanding, that is possible. I don't think parties in the region are interested in that. Hezbollah was involved in that, but I don't think Hezbollah wants to enter now based on their own calculation that they want to enter the war now. But, these things are unpredictable, and things can develop. If the human scene that we see in Gaza, that's emerging now to the whole world, and certainly to the Middle East, and people there, of course, are sensitive to what they are seeing, it's possible that things will go out of hand. And the candidates for that are obviously Hezbollah. The Houthis in Yemen are already involved. And so the war might expand.
So in terms of if there is a ceasefire, let's say a ceasefire happens sometime down the line, that may not stabilize this region because the ties that bind the folks here have already been severed many years before this conflict. And there's so much more that needs to be negotiated, hashed out, and perhaps agreed upon. And is that possible at this point after this?
You are absolutely right. I mean, the world, again, including the U.S. and including President Biden, are talking about two-state solution, reviving the idea of two-state solution. Of course, recently, in the last, 20 years or so, there was a lip service to two-state solution. Europe is talking about two-state solution. The region is talking about that. Israel is opposed to that completely the guidelines of the current Israeli government are against it. This is not a secret, as you know. So it's very hard to revive that. But in my mind, one thing that the region should be talking about and thinking about, and the world thinking about, is some kind of principles that should guide the relationships between Israelis and Palestinians. And these should be equality. These should be no privileges to one group over another. These should be no supremacy of one group over the other. And if we agree on these basic human principles, I think if we agree on that, we can think then about the political arrangement that would reflect these principles. As of now, I must say that there's no agreement on these terms, and sadly, there is no push from the world to the parties to declare commitment to these principles.
I think when the average American that definitely does not have your expertise in this region tries to think about the conflict that's happening in Gaza and Israel, they think of a separate entity of Hamas and Palestine or Palestinians or the Palestinian Authority. And so when you're looking at that strictly, do the folks in that region also struggle with the separation, or are they just more worried about, surviving the next day?
Well, I think people who are watching the conflict are really worried about surviving the next day, about how the 2.3 million Palestinians in Gaza can survive, because what we see is the number of people who were killed, wounded, are in the tens of thousands, including children. But I think we have to understand that Hamas is an idea. in addition to being a movement that seeks to achieve political goals that we might not agree with, and we might not agree, not many people agree on the means that they use, of course, but it's an idea. And for Israel to destroy Hamas, as it says it wants to achieve, to eliminate Hamas, this is the language, the discourse that they use, has to be done. There's no way to do it without destroying the Palestinian people in Gaza, without destroying the Palestinian nation, men, women, and so on. So what we have seen is, people, as you know, many scholars describe that as genocide. We can avoid the term, but it's getting very close to means that use genocidal thinking and genocidal atrocities. And so if you want to eliminate Hamas, that's the way to do it. And because it's an idea, and to get them, you have to get the Palestinian people and do in the south more than what you did in the north, because the whole population of Gaza is now in the south of Gaza, which is half of Gaza.
All right, there's so much to talk about as this continues to unfold in the region, and we see so many people have lost their lives. Just a tragic situation all around. Dr. Nadeem Rouhana, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. Thank you.